And just to put on the record that the Labour Party will be opposing this bill and submitting a number of amendments to it. We feel that this bill has limited protections for those impacted by COVID-19. And it seems to me to be strange then when a measure that was introduced in March has been seen to work to keep people out of homelessness, that we would change the provisions that were made. Homelessness and housing has dogged political debate for years now. It is one of the greatest crises we have had to grapple with as a nation. And then finally measures are taken that see a drop in the numbers presenting, and now we're changing the very provisions that were made that saw these numbers drop. Because of this legislation, we can be sure that we will now see an increase in homelessness in the autumn. And the government must prepare for this reality, because this flawed bill won't stop people losing their homes. And unfortunately, we're going to have a debate in the autumn when we will point to this moment and we will say that we told you, Minister. And unfortunately, you'll use devices, I presume, or you'll use excuses as to why opposition are wrong and you were right. And I hope that we are wrong, and I hope that you are right. But unfortunately, there's nothing from experience that would suggest that that will be the case. And we know that the pandemic ban on evictions clearly worked to stop the increase in homelessness. Under this bill, no-fault evictions are back. Substantial renovation evictions are back, and evictions for the benefit of family members are back. There's no beefing up of the staffing of the RTB for inspections and protections of renters in cases such as those that I've mentioned. And let's be clear about the type of people who will be most affected by these measures. Let's be clear about the type of people who are renting in our economy. A huge number of these are younger workers, and a huge number of these have been obviously most seriously affected by the economic collapse. 30% of 20 to 24-year-olds are renting. 42% of 25 to 34-year-olds are renting. The job losses in sectors where large numbers of workers rent: 38% in accommodation and food, 28% in administration and support, 27% in retail, 23% in arts, 21% in construction. These are huge job losses in areas of the economy where the vast majority of workers rent, or a huge section of these workers rent. About 200,000 renters are in sectors most severely affected by job losses. Unfortunately, the proposed law leaves too many exceptions in the terms of evictions, and there is a huge risk that from September we will see homelessness back and rising. The changes will only give protection from eviction until January to those who can prove that they have been financially impacted by a limited set of circumstances and put in place a complicated process to apply for that exception. And has been mentioned, and it's important to re-emphasise the point, not taking into account in any adequate way those who have addiction issues, those who have mental health challenges, or those who have lower levels of literacy. We do live in a country where 17.9% of Irish adults are functionally illiterate. That means that you can't access an application form and understand that you can't read a medicine bottle and understand it. That's 1 in 6 of Irish adults functionally illiterate, and you can be quite sure that a disproportionate number of those with high illiteracy levels are in the rental sector. And the reality is that this bill will result in more people losing their home, as they will have to navigate a cumbersome and technical system which has, as has been outlined, been criticised by many homeless agencies. Disturbingly, the Minister plans to criminalise tenants for false declaration, without doing the same to landlords availing of eviction exemptions. To do this to someone at risk of losing their home is really despicable. The Minister also needs to clarify if the bill, as proposed, will stop increases to January 2021 for all tenants or just those impacted by COVID-19. And this is the latest last-minute bill over many years that attempts to address in the body of law covering residential tenancies. Sadly, it fails to adequately address the main excuses used for evicting tenants, which is the driving force of homelessness in Ireland. And once again we say, Minister, if something has been working, if something has successfully prevented people entering homelessness, if it has successfully prevented people losing their homes, then why change it? We have tabled, I believe, 12 amendments over various sections of the bill, and we will be looking forward to debating those points with you as the bill passes through the Oireachtas.